Hello, habit hopefuls. Welcome back to the Atomic Habits Podcast, where we turn self improvement into stories that won't make you fall asleep. I'm your host, and today we're diving into Chapter 2 of James Clear's book, How Your Identity Shapes Your Habits. Or as I like to call it, Why Your Gym Membership Card Has More Dust Than Your Vintage Record Collection. Seriously, though, let's get into it. It's 3 a.m. on a rainy Tuesday. David, a middle-aged accountant with the exciting hobby of alphabetizing his spice rack, sits bolt upright in bed, heart pounding like a caffeinated woodpecker. He's just had the most terrifying dream. He was 80 years old looking back at a life where nothing had changed. Same job pushing numbers around spreadsheets, same routines, same unfulfilled dreams of becoming a salsa dancer. And here's where our story really begins. David couldn't go back to sleep. I mean, have you ever tried counting sheep after an existential crisis? Those sheep start asking you tough life questions. Not helpful, sheep. Not helpful. The dream felt like a warning, a glimpse into his future if he continued on his current path. For years, he'd tried to become healthier. His desk was a graveyard of abandoned habit trackers. His closet held exercise equipment so dusty it had become a historic preservation site. Pause. His bathroom cabinet contained so many half-used vitamin bottles. They were holding their own support group meetings. Why can't I stick with anything? He whispered to the darkness. The darkness, being darkness, didn't answer. Rude. The next morning, bleary-eyed but determined, David decided to try something different. Instead of heading straight to work, he took a detour to a small coffee shop he'd never visited before. That's where he met Eleanor, an eccentric older woman with bright eyes and clothing so colorful it needed its own Instagram filter. "You look like someone carrying too many failed attempts," she said, sliding into the chair opposite him without invitation. David was too startled to be offended. "Excuse me? Did you just psychoanalyze me before I've even finished my first coffee? That's actually impressive timing. You're focusing on the wrong thing," Eleanor continued, stirring her tea with what appeared to be a tiny plastic dinosaur. "Hey, when you're that confident, you make your own rules." "Let me guess," she said. You keep trying to change what you do without changing who you are. It's like trying to bake a cake by only changing the frosting. The cake is still going to taste like your dog made it." Eleanor, as it turned out, wasn't just some random coffee shop philosopher. She was a retired behavioral psychologist who had spent decades studying why people fail to change. And she was about to drop the knowledge bomb from Chapter 2 of Atomic Habits. "There are 3 layers to behavior change," she explained, drawing circles on a napkin and accidentally dipping her sleeve in her tea. "Oops, that happens a lot. Anyway, the outer layer is outcomes, not what you get. The middle layer is processes, what you do. But the core, the foundation of lasting change, is identity. What you believe." "I don't follow," David admitted while thinking, is she going to notice the tea sleeve situation, or most people focus on outcome-based habits, Eleanor said, completely ignoring her increasingly soggy sleeve. "They say, I want to lose weight, or I want to write a book. But the people who make lasting changes focus on identity-based habits. They start by deciding who they want to become." "So it's like method acting for real life?" David asked. "Exactly." Eleanor clapped her hands, flinging tea droplets. "Except without the weird stories about actors staying in character at dinner parties. Nobody likes that, Jeremy." "Nobody. The reason you fail to stick with habits is that your self-image gets in the way," Eleanor continued. "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe you are. When you say, 'I'm trying to quit smoking,' you're still identifying as a smoker who is trying to be something else. But when you say, 'I'm not a smoker,' you're making a statement about your identity." David leaned forward, intrigued. "So instead of saying, 'I want to read more books,' I should be saying, 'I am a reader,'" Eleanor finished with a smile. "Exactly. The goal is not to read more books. The goal is to become a reader. Not to run a marathon, but to become a runner. Not to learn an instrument, but to become a musician." Although maybe skip the bagpipes, your neighbors will thank you. Over the next few weeks, David experimented with this approach. Rather than focusing on eating healthier foods, he began to tell himself, I am someone who takes care of their body. Which led to an awkward moment at the donut shop when he had to explain to the confused cashier why he was having an existential crisis in front of the display case. It's not you, it's my new identity, isn't a phrase people hear every day. Instead of trying to go to bed earlier, he embraced the identity. I am the kind of person who prioritizes rest. This worked great until his Netflix account staged an intervention with a, "Are you still watching?" message at 2 a.m. The magic wasn't immediate. Identity shifts take time. But something profound had changed. When faced with choices, David found himself asking, what would someone who values their health do? Rather than battling against his desires, his actions began flowing naturally from his new identity. 3 months later, David returned to the coffee shop. Eleanor was there, as if she'd been waiting, or possibly, as David later realized, she just lived there. The staff seemed very used to her. You look different, she noted. I feel different, David replied. The funny thing is, I'm doing many of the same things I tried before. Eating better, exercising, saving money. But now they don't feel like chores I'm forcing myself to do. They feel like expressions of who I am. Eleanor nodded. That's the power of identity-based habits. Behavior that contradicts your identity will feel like friction. Behavior that aligns with your identity will feel like gravity pulling you toward it. So it's like, the universe is helping me not be a couch potato, David asked. Exactly, Eleanor exclaimed. Though the universe doesn't care if you're a couch potato, the universe has its own problems. Have you seen what's happening with black holes lately? The true lesson of Chapter 2 is simple but revolutionary. Lasting change is not about what you want to achieve or even what you do. It's about who you believe you are. The most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become. Every time you make your bed, you embody the identity of someone who is organized, or someone whose mother might visit unexpectedly. Every time you write, you embody the identity of a creative person. Even if what you're writing is an extremely passive-aggressive note about stolen yogurt in the office fridge. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you embody the identity of someone who is trustworthy. Yes, future me, I will actually use those vegetables before they turn into a science experiment. The progress you seek comes from your identity, and your identity emerges from your habits. It's a beautiful, continuous cycle of becoming. Like a hamster wheel, but one that actually gets you somewhere. Remember David's story the next time you struggle with change. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? Then let your habits be expressions of that identity. Pause. Just maybe don't announce your new identity at family gatherings unless you're prepared for some really confused looks. Thanks for listening to the Atomic Habits podcast. Next week, we'll explore Chapter 3 through the story of twins who take radically different approaches to habit formation. Spoiler alert, one of them thinks covering their entire house in sticky notes is a valid reminder system. Until then, remember, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. I'm your host, voting to become the type of person who doesn't laugh at their own jokes. And failing miserably at it.